Hello and welcome to Recovery for Life. I'm Chris Howard, peer counselor at Midtown Health Wellness and Indigo Recovery in New York City, and host of this bi-weekly podcast where we discuss addiction and recovery and anything else that comes to mind. Peer, of course, meaning equal, meaning we're all on a level playing field, which means I'm in recovery myself. As of this past January, I've got 10 years clean and sober. I should note that it took me 18 years to get here. Relapse isn't required, but certainly isn't uncommon. That may sound like a reasonable amount of time in recovery, but the truth is, today is all that matters. Every single morning, we make a decision to remain sober for the next 24 hours. Before we get going, it's important to mention that I am not a doctor, and we are not here to dispense medical advice, nor do we advocate any particular course of treatment. Please speak with your physician regarding issues related to your specific medication or treatment plan. If you don't have a program and would like to discuss options, you can find Midtown Health Wellness and Indigo Recovery at nyc-doctor.com. This series of podcasts is essentially our group discussions on tape. The 4 others joining me today are all part of the Suboxone program at Midtown Health. So one of our recurring topics will be everyone's personal feelings about medication-assisted recovery. The focus will not be so much on our past, our addictions, but how we're navigating our individual paths toward physical and emotional health. Putting down the substance is the first step. What happens next is recovery. We have a guest with us today who has graciously offered to share her story of strength and hope. Welcome, Stephen, to the gang. It's good to see you. But before we do that, I'm going to virtually pass the mic and give everyone a few minutes to check in. So let's see what's going on with everybody. Who wants to go first? How about Amy?
Hey, everybody. I'm Amy, and I've been with Midtown about 3 years. I had surgery about 20 days ago, and first time I ever been really sliced open like that. And first 4 days were brutal because I was mistold what to do about my pain meds. So I knew kind of, in your gut what to do. But then a doctor tells you, and you're like, well, okay, I'll go with the doctor. That was the wrong thing to do. So, and I should listen to Chris. Me and Chris talked about it. I should listen to him, but I didn't. So I suffered a lot. And anyway, if you're ever going to have surgery, don't get off your Suboxone if you're taking that. Because Percocet or oxycodone doesn't do it. Mm-mm. I realized I'm not addicted to pain pills anymore, which is they didn't do anything for me. So I got back on my Suboxone as soon as I could, but I didn't know how to, when to. So I just kind of winged it, and there were no participated withdrawals, so that's good. Precipitated, whatever. And yeah, here I am, and I'm doing a lot better. And yeah.
Well, I'm very happy you got through it. You're back. Glad to see you. How about John? You're up.
Hello, I'm John. I've been with Midtown Health Wellness for 3.5 years, going on 4, I think, somewhere around there. It's been a while. And speaking of medically assisted treatment, I just wrapped up my Sublocade regimen, which was 2 years. I've been now off of Sublocade for just about 2 months. And, I am discovering bodily functions, emotions that I haven't experienced probably since I was a child.
Wow.
Nor do I remember. So it's quite the experience, but it's nice to be able to get my appetite back. And sleep has been a little wonky, but not too bad. No, I haven't had any withdrawals so far. I mean, I'm not kicking nothing. It's actually pretty good. Feel great. Matter of fact, I went out for a walk with my wife earlier, and I was just like, wow, I feel great. And that's just amazing. I'm so grateful for that. But other than that, I've been doing really well. I've been doing really well. Glad to be back on the podcast, and can't wait to hear Mr. Mike Steven's Steven story. Okay, Steven, can't wait to hear your story.
Sorry, I use this for work. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to change that now.
Right, we erase the names when it gets published anyway.
Yeah, so that matters.
Anyway, thanks, John. I think we might wind up doing a whole show around what comes back in recovery: emotions, feelings, perception, things like that. Everything changes. It's really it's quite an experience. So look forward to hearing more about that. I think it's going to be really helpful to people out there who are getting toward the end of their treatment. So anyway, Audrey, you are up.
Hello, it's Audrey. I've been with Midtown Health and Wellness for like 3 years now. I thought it was like 2 years, but I don't really count like my recovery that well. So yeah, I think it's been like 3 years. But I am doing pretty great. I have been in a really amazing mood for the past 2 or 3 weeks because I've been talking to a person that we're like kind of seeing each other at this point. So that's fun and good. I just spent the weekend with them as well. So yeah, I'm in a good mood. It's nice to have someone nice in my life. So I'm pretty distracted by that, honestly. It's very distracting. Like I'm doing fine at work and everything and like getting all my shit done that I need to do. But I also like clean my room because they were coming. It's giving me the motivation that I need to like floss my teeth regularly, But hey, sometimes I need motivation from other people. So that's fine. I'll take it. Yeah, that's about it.
I think that's great. Congratulations. I'm glad it's going well.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the motivation too.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I'm doing well. I've been traveling a bit. I'm in one place for a week now, and I'm going back to LA end of this week, next Sunday. No complaints. No complaints here. Life is good. It's great to be back on this podcast again because it has been a while, and getting my sea legs again here, I think, because it has been a while. And, and I've been on vacation too. So I haven't even been with the groups or anything. I just started back on that Saturday. So it's, good to be back with everybody. I missed all of you and missed doing this. And I miss all my peeps, So it's good to be here. So that's that. So I think we're going to turn it over to Steven now and just let him do his thing, and you can take as long as you like. There's no rules here. So whatever feels right, just go for it. And you might get some questions from us when you're done. We'll see how it goes. All right, it's all yours.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, hey everyone. My name is Steven. I'm a teacher, as I mentioned before. I am also a father to a 4-year-old pug who's sitting on my lap right here. So anyone who's listening on the podcast, you can follow her on Instagram at the Harlem Pug. But anyway, I'm hoping you guys can hear me because I don't have the only one here without a mic. So if I'm not speaking loud enough, just let me know. But I've been at Midtown Health and Wellness for 4 years now, actually. Been on and off Suboxone for about 9 or 10 years. But the past 7 years have been going really, really good. I have to say. Before I jump into my story though, I just wanted to, thank you all. This is the first time I mentioned to Amy and John before. Amy and Chris, that this is the first time I'm sharing my story publicly. So I'm super anxious, and there was a long time where I didn't think my story was worthy of sharing. So this is a big step for me, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity opportunity to share. So, I guess I can start with the first time I was introduced to painkillers, which is my drug of choice, oxy in particular. And that was I was 17 years old. I had a tonsillectomy, and it was really, really. I was like having a really tough recovery. I wasn't hydrated enough, so my stitches broke in my throat, and I had to go back to the hospital to get restitched, and it was super painful. But at that time, like I said, I was 17. I was a senior in high school. Super straight edge. I could only drink like once at that point. Never smoked in my life. Never touched a drug. Wasn't interested in it. And when I was prescribed these pills, I didn't want to take them. I refused them. And it wasn't until I think it was after I got restitched that my mom like literally had like force one down my throat. And I remember being at the dinner table with my family and just like falling asleep and just like face down in my plate. And I didn't touch the rest of the bottle. My mom took them. At that point in my life, I was really happy. And there was no pain or no anxiety or depression at that point. Everything was going well, so that that high really didn't do anything for me because I enjoyed my life. I didn't want to escape it. So and that was good. That at that point, I wasn't, I didn't have that addict mentality. But I was then, the next time I was introduced to painkillers was through my mom, who had been prescribed them her whole life. So I saw what they did to her. I saw how they changed her, how it affected her. And I think I had a headache one day, and she offered me one, and we just like sat in the living room together and talked, and it wasn't, it was just like it wasn't something we did like all the time, like maybe like once a week, and it was just like I didn't think anything of it. I didn't see it as being bad at all. And then I started, making up reasons, to get these pills from her. And yeah, and that's when I got my first taste, and I started really enjoying it. And this is around, when I was like 21. This will be my senior year of college, and for my 21st birthday, I went to Atlantic City. Spent 2 days there with some friends, and when we were leaving, we had just checked out of our hotel room. I had actually won a couple $100, so I was going to, cash out my little ticket and get my money and use the bathroom. And when I was washing my hands, some guy was next to me, and he was like, "Hey man, like I'm trying to get home. I don't have enough money." He goes, "I have these 30 milligram, oxy pills. Are you interested in buying them?" And I, knowing what they were, and being, kind of curious, I bought them. I think it was like between 3 and 5 pills. But I remember being super excited, like on that ride home. At the time, I was going to school in Philly, so we were driving from Atlantic City to Philly. But I remember being so excited to go home and try this, and because at that time I had only like tried like a really low dose and wanted to see what that next level would feel like. And you also have to take into account that at this time, I had just come out, so I was struggling a lot with my sexuality, my sexual orientation. I was under a lot of stress at school. I was doing well, grade wise, but it was really tearing me down mentally. There wasn't a lot of self-care going on at that time. And my father just got sick. He died from cancer when I was in my early 20s. So that was going on. And also there was some childhood trauma that was started to resurface. And I can write a whole book on this topic, but I don't want to get too into it. But I was sexually assaulted between the ages of 3 and 5. And this was something that, I kept way deep down inside, locked in a box. And there were, for years, I didn't even understand what happened to me. And it wasn't until like my early 20s when these memories started to resurface and started to make sense. And this gave me a reason to want to escape. So now, I have these pills, and I want to take them because I want to escape. I didn't want to feel anything. And yeah, it kind of just went downhill from there. But I started searching for a regular dealer that led me to other drugs, coke, Molly, ketamine, LSD, and I tried it all, but nothing gave me that feeling like painkillers did, and that's what I wanted. So what I was doing was I was essentially stealing them from my mom, until I started experiencing lower back pain, and I thought really nothing of it. But it was a couple weeks, so I'm getting like an MRI, and found that I had 2 herniated discs in my lower back, and that right there was a golden ticket for me. I can bring that at the time to any doctor, and guaranteed be prescribed pain pills. I wouldn't have to worry about buying them, getting them off the street, going through any hassle. And I knew of this one doctor who was known for handing out pills like candy, and that's who I went to. And this is like, thinking back on it, it didn't feel like a doctor's office. It felt like I would, walk into a drug house, and it was just like a bunch of addicts there, to get their fix. And essentially that's what it was. But I waited for 5 hours. My first visit lasted less than 3 minutes. And I walked out with a prescription for 2 90-milligram pills a day. Yeah. And, that over, the course of time, I needed more, wanted having someone on the side. But, mind you, during this time, I was holding a full-time job. And I was doing really well. And in my mind, I thought I was okay because I was a functioning addict. I was able to get up and go to work, and do my work, and pay most of my bills, and that's it. But after once 3 p.m. hit and I clocked out, the addict in me kicked in, and as you all can probably relate to, I would leave work and go straight to my dealer's house, and I'm like, I didn't even have to think about it. When you're in that grip, you lose all sense of autonomy, but yeah, and that's what I would do every day. And I was on top of getting prescribed pills, was wasting crazy amounts of money. was in debt. I started becoming really reclusive. I lost friends. To me, those pills were more important than anything. And that included my relationships with my mom, and particularly my little sister, who was my best friend today. And I'm so glad that now she don't look at me and see me as her older brother and her role model again. But the things that she saw, at 16, 17 years old, because I how to get high was, it's nothing that a child should see. And the fact that, I think back and, I did that to my sister, it's, it really disappoints me, but, it makes me appreciate our relationship that we have today even more. Have to find the silver lining somewhere in your addiction. Probably at the worst stages of my addiction, I was taking about 300 milligrams of oxy a day, and I kind of made peace with the fact that I wasn't going to live to see 30. I assumed that one day I was going to go to sleep and I just wasn't going to wake up. And at the time, I was okay with it. And that right there was my rock bottom. But actually, how I got sober is no, I didn't OD. I didn't have any huge epiphany. I moved to New York, and I thought, hey, I'm moving to Harlem, East Harlem. It's going to be super easy to get a deal over there. And I moved here, and it was a couple of days sober. And I was taking my Suboxone. That turned into a week, and it turned into a month, and I realized, like, wow, I haven't had this much time, I could say that I haven't gotten high, and since I started getting high, and it was something that I didn't want to give up. And every single day that I'm sober, my sobriety means more to me, and it's something that I want to hold on to even tighter. Which is really great, because I've been in situations where I could have had access to pills. I could have gotten high again, and these are at times where I was under a lot of stress, and I have no interest in it anymore. I have an amazing job. I love my family and friends. I have an amazing partner. Now there's things that I want in my future. I want to have a kid. I want a house. These are things that, just a couple of years ago, I didn't think I was gonna, live long enough, to be able to achieve those things. So having these goals, really is keeping me on track. And not only that, but another thing is, the line of work that I do. Obviously, as a teacher, I'm looking at kids every day, and the fact that I can look at them and tell them that they should be making the right choices, and mean it, and know that I'm also making the right choices too. After even when I'm not in the classroom. I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that I'm able to do that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to touch on, but I guess I'll stop it at this point and open up to you guys if you have any questions.
Thanks, Stephen. That was beautifully told. Really, thank you. I can't believe that was your first time. Really. I mean, you're a pro. You're a pro, really, and it really is a beautiful story. And I'm so glad you're here with us. I have all my post-it notes here, but I'm going to let everybody else go.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Amy.
You said you were sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
I was too. It's around 8, 9, 15, 16, you know. I was just wondering, was it by a male or female?
It was by mail. So this was my mom, at the time, her best friend's son, who was my babysitter. So anytime that my mom would be out on the weekends or be at work, I'd be with him. Yeah.
I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Also, you did tell your story. That was great. This is great. It was so similar to mine without the kid, loss of child and husband and all that. Because lower back pain, my mom got me in, and then also, how did you find Suboxone?
I found Suboxone. So I was seeing a psychiatrist for my anxiety and depression. I think a friend mentioned it to me one day. So this is I had a friend who had was also addicted to pills, went to rehab, relapsed, and then went on Suboxone, and since then he's been clean. But yeah, I heard about it through him, and I didn't know anything about it, and I went in for my appointment and asked my doctor if he prescribed it, and he happened to have the license to prescribe it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I found out that I was allergic to the what's the second ingredient?
Naloxone.
Yeah. So I'm actually taking Subutex.
No.
But same
Did it like break your mouth out?
Did it what?
Did it break your mouth out?
Oh no. So like I like my throat started closing up. Like my eyes would run, like my nose would run,
Gotcha.
It was very, very like light symptoms, but not something I wanted to experience every day. Occasionally I would like throw up. So like I would, yeah.
Okay. I love your pug. And what grade do you teach?
So I started off teaching. I taught for 6 years in Newark, New Jersey, and taught 5th through 8th grade. And right now I'm teaching 11th and 12th graders. And all this time I'm a special education teacher, so I teach kids with disabilities.
My daughter's in that program due to ADHD.
Okay.
So, I mean, rock on. That's great. Anyway, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Who else wants to jump in? Audrey, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for sharing everything. And again, same as what Amy and Chris said. That was really well said, everything that you shared. I was going to ask what Amy asked, like, how'd you get into, how did you find out about Suboxone? But if you don't mind, I wanted to ask a little bit more like about like coming out and how that affected you. Cause I never really, so I'm bi, but I never really experienced that kind of a negative coming out situation. But yeah, I just want to know how that affected you, like mentally.
So the process of coming out, I mean, I thought I was going to lose all my friends and family and be living outside in a box. And the exact opposite happened. I actually came out to all of my family on Easter Sunday. I figured it was easy. Everyone was all there. The only person who knew at the time was my mom and my sister. And everyone in my family is extremely laid back, open-minded. When I told them, they gave me a hug and said, all right, like just, just give us a heads up if you're bringing your boyfriend to Christmas so we know to get him a gift. Like it was really, really great. What was the issue for me was, what I struggled for a while, and what I believed was there was a connection between my the sexual assaults and my preference towards men. And it took a long time and therapy and and now it's proven that there's no connection. But yeah, for a while, like I believed it. So like I was, even though my coming out experience was good, I still wasn't proud of being gay because I connected it to a terribly traumatic experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. That's rough. Sorry.
Stephen, thank you so much for sharing your story. Well put, super courageous for telling it, and articulated very well. And I related to a lot of things that you said. I do have a couple questions. How long have you been on Suboxone? For how many years?
So I'm going to say it's been about 9 years. But the first like 2 to 3 years, I was like on it, then on pills again. I was on it off. And it wasn't until I moved to the city, and didn't have direct access to any pills. I had my Suboxone, and as I explained before, like it kind of became like my sobriety became my new addiction. Like adding those days on. So about 9 years, and it didn't take long, maybe like a month or two before I switched from Suboxone to Suboxone. So,
and do you think the move to New York was like a catalyst to making that transition?
It was weird. I was just talking about this the other day, because I was in where I grew up. My mom still lives there, so I went to visit her. And even though it's a great place, it puts me in a really, really bad headspace. And it wasn't until I left that town that I realized how much my environment affected me, and how much it brought back memories and made me think of things. And I definitely felt like coming to the city, it gave me a fresh start, and it definitely helped, because I think of my anniversary, moving to the city. It's the same as my sobriety. So yeah, it definitely helped being in a new environment.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So happy for you. And I followed your the Harlem Pug on Instagram.
Cool.
Very cute dog. And again, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna have to look for the Harlem Pug myself after. Yeah, thanks again, Stephen, for sharing. I mean, it is a courageous story to share. There's a lot in there. I have a bunch of Post-it notes I put all over my keyboard here. And, I'm gonna get into some of these because you touched on so many things that are that a lot of people go through. Including myself. Mm-hmm. I'm not the coming out part because I'm not gay, but all of these other things, like when you say things like, I didn't think I was going to live past 30. I was there. I had resigned to the fact that I was going to die, an addict and an alcoholic, and that was my fate. That's just what it was going to be, because there was no way that I could stop. There was no way out of it. I couldn't see a way out of it until, of course, I could. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I know that feeling of just giving up. What I call my first surrender was to my disease of addiction, and I said, I give up. I'm waving the white flag. Just take me, because I can't fight this thing anymore. And I know what that's like, and it's a really painful realization. And I think, like you too, there was no last hurrah for me. I got sober because what I saw was just that every day was going to be the same. was like you described. I went to work, went to the dealer. This was my day, right? This is what it was like. And it was the same for me. I mean, I was more of an alcoholic than an addict. So for me, it was real easy. I could go to the liquor store, but that was always first. That was always first. And that was my day. And it was the same over and over and over again until I had nothing left. For me, it was going from actually having the houses and the cars and the business and the family and everything else to living in a rented room on 86th Street and sleeping on the floor. And the most important thing to me was getting that next bottle. And I lost my job as well. So I had nothing left. There was just nothing left. And so, I know where that takes us, that repetitive. And it was just that the moment of clarity was it's going to be the same. This is my life. It's never going to change. And so I really appreciate you bringing that up too. And of course, along with that goes this what you call a functioning addict, right? Which is a hilarious term, right? Because
Isn't it? Yeah.
There's no such thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would be considered an oxymoron, like in a way, like it's just, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we imagine that we're functioning, but we're not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Definitely
an addict who came up with that term.
And we're of course the last to know because everybody else kind of knows what's going on. We're going to be the last to find out. What else have I got in my notes here? I have more things. Oh, this is the most important thing I think is that when you were talking about your sister and what you felt you had done to her. I mean, one of the things we do in recovery that's kind of a big deal is the amends process, which everybody has heard about and some people have done. And, what we always forget is the first person to put on the list is ourselves, because none of this is our fault. We didn't decide to be addicts. I mean, you got introduced to it and it kind of took over eventually, which is, that's how it works. Right? We don't ever get up one morning and say, hey, I'd like to be an addict today. I'm going to start today and then I'm going to be an addict for the rest of my life. It doesn't really work that way. You take something and you go, that was interesting, and it might be a year later and you go, I'm going to try that again and let me see what happens. And then, before you know it, you're doing that 300 milligrams a day and you don't know where to shut it off or how to shut it off. And, that's how this stuff develops. And it's just, it's interesting. We're all kind of introduced in different ways. Often it is through family. Mine was through family too. My parents, I considered my mother an alcoholic. I think at the end of her life, she also considered herself an alcoholic, although she would never admit to it. But she, once I got sober, she started buying books and all of these things and, kind of skirting around it. She was reading memoirs on addiction, to try to figure out what was going on. And she didn't want to look in the mirror still, she still didn't want to do that. And that's okay. That's not my thing. That was her. I was sober for the last 5 years of her life. And so at least I was able to make my peace with it. And that's all that matters to me. And so, it's great that you have a relationship with your sister now and that you're best friends. I think that's just stunning. It really is. I'm sure, I can't say because I don't know her, but I have no doubt that she's forgiven you for anything. And she may not even have realized what was going on. We project on people too that assume that we've harmed things. And sometimes, I made an amends to my son and he was like, whatever. Out of sight, out of mind. That was his, that was his response. And so we don't really know unless we sit down and have the conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we talked about it, and it did affect her. But it's weird because in a way it made our relationship stronger because she says to me now, like, look at all that you've overcome and how you've conquered addiction. This is something I didn't even mention because another thing I could write a whole different book on. I suffered from an eating disorder in my early 20s as well. I didn't want to even bring that up because that would just take me on a totally different tangent. But she says, you conquered all of these different things. Like those are the things that make me proud of you. So in a way, it brought us together. It brought us closer together.
That's great.
Yeah. And as I mentioned before, you have to find the silver lining and everything. That was it in this case. So.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned, the eating disorder because, like you said, you were trying to escape, with the drugs, and it all comes from the same place. The eating disorders and other things really are the same kind of looking for some sort of
Control
from the outside, control, whatever you want to call it, from some outside source, whether it's food, drugs, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm sure you've discussed this with therapists and psychiatrists over the years.
Many times.
I'm sure. And so, but it's important to know that it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
They're not isolated activities.
Absolutely.
They're really not. And, I think that the cross addiction is, I think we've all probably experienced something in that realm. So really, just amazing. Oh, the other thing, I have one more note here about, there's a lot in your story. There really was. It was really just, you touched on so many different things that are, that we always talk about in recovery. And the environment is a really big one. Relocating, we often describe as a geographic, which means, if I move away from something, I'm not going to be an addict anymore, or whatever you want to call it. But the truth is that we always bring ourselves with us, right? Wherever we go, we're bringing us. So we're bringing that addictive personality. But that does not mean that, there is an environmental part to this. Like if you're in that place where you've always used, that's going to be a trigger, right? We can't run from it, but as long as we acknowledge that the moving isn't going to change, the place isn't going to change us, because we can move anywhere in the world. I'm still bringing me with me wherever I go. I can move to China. I'm still bringing me, I'll find what I need. Trust me, wherever I go. And so, it's important to note these things and, but it does play a factor, where we started our, for me, it's upstate New York. That's where I really went off the rails, and I've been back there recently, and it's taken me 10 years to be able to go back there and drive past where, I used to live. I lived in a lot of different places up there, but, they're not that far from the city. It's kind of near where Audrey is, actually, up in Ulster County. But it took me a long time to be able to go back without being incredibly triggered by the area, by just the scenery, because so many times I had this whole array of places that I would go, and liquor stores, and, everything has changed, fortunately. Nothing is the same. The people I knew, it's been a lot of years since I lived there. So a lot of the people I knew are gone. Stores and clothes, places aren't there anymore, but just the scenery, I couldn't go back. I couldn't look at it for years. Couldn't do it. It was just too painful, and it was too triggering. So, that's definitely a factor. I got sober in New York City, which was a shocker, because there were certainly a lot of bars. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of anything you want in New York. And but you know what? There's a lot of AA meetings. There's a lot of NA meetings.
Yes, a lot of great resources.
There's a lot of great resources in New York. Way more than anybody realized. Way more than I had any idea. When somebody told me when I first came into the 12-step meetings that in AA alone, there's 1,500 meetings a week in New York. And that's just one fellowship. So when you add them up, there's probably, I don't even know the number, but there's a lot. And so it's really easy to find people to connect with and people who understand us. And that was a beautiful thing. I had no idea. It took me a little while. I was in the city for 4 or 5 months before I got sober. I had to go even farther down the scale, sleeping on the floor and losing my job and everything else before that moment of realization that it was going to be the same every day. So, but the environment helped. The change helped. The losing of the job helped. The loneliness helped. I mean, this is a bottom, right? This is where we go to. And you said yourself, you became a recluse as well, and that also happens. We just, retreat into ourselves because we don't want anybody else around.
Can I say something, Chris?
You can say as much as you want. I'm going to shut up.
Okay. One thing I found very relatable. And about your story, Stephen, was when you had mentioned what you have now, how you don't want to lose it. There's so much to live for now. And I like how you say there you have to find a silver lining in things and keep things positive. That's kind of how I have to do it too. I have to find something I need to be grateful for today to kind of get my day going in the right direction. And, I was at that point where, I didn't care about my life either. And I didn't care if I'd be dead the next day or not. And I actually ended up having two severely bad overdoses. One where I was almost pronounced dead, and then that was the catalyst for me to kind of get sober. But what you said, about life, making good memories, putting all those things we've overcome, it made us who we are today. And I think that's something to highlight, because I wouldn't take anything back. I've been through, sexual trauma and all these bad things too. And it's not something I like to talk about, but it is what it is. And I am just so grateful that I'm alive and sober today. And I'm grateful that I was here to hear your story. It was, truly inspirational, and I'm glad you showed up and had the courage to tell your story. It really touched me. So I just wanted to share that and say thank you again.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thanks.
Go ahead, Amy.
You said that it was proven that about the essay and the male or female. So that was really proven that it doesn't have nothing to do with.
Yeah, I mean, they collected enough data to figure to determine that there is no correlation between no connection between SAM.
Because I just never.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
No.
That's good to know. But I'm glad that you did come out. I'm glad that everything was fine with it. With your family and everything. That makes me happy because love is love to me. And I'm a strong Christian woman, but I believe God loves everybody. He loves everyone. And I also believe you can't help who you love. You can't. And I'm proud of you. And you're an inspiration. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your story.
Thank you. Thanks.
Always know you're amazing. All of us always know that.
Yes. That's so true. We are very, not to be gloating, but I
Blow it away.
I think we are very, very special people in our own unique ways.
After what we've been through? Yeah,
absolutely. Stephen, you're a teacher. I think that takes a certain, that alone. I mean, that takes a very special person to do that kind of work. And I think that's amazing. I have two sisters who teach as well, but awesome. You're I don't know. I just don't know what to say. You're just so inspirational, and I am proud of you as well. I just wanted to say that. I think I'm proud of everybody. Really, it's just so.
Me too.
Me too.
The community, right? The community aspect of it, I think is for me is a huge part. Without it, I don't know. Obviously, putting my sobriety first, that's number one. But number two, having the sober network, being able to come out and openly talk and share with like-minded people, it is instrumental in me continuing to stay to keep my sobriety and stay sober another day.
Yeah, we're glad you joined the family. Truly.
I'll definitely be an official member once I have my headphones. But
are you gonna stay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
And I have to say, I remember when Dr. Saltzman called me, this months ago. And she was like, Steven, you have to talk to this guy, Chris, once a week. my doctor said I'm too busy. I got this and this and this, like, I don't want to do it. And she was like, it's either this or you're kicked out of the program. Like, fine, whatever. Like I was really like defiant at first. But looking back on it, I am so incredibly grateful and blessed that I was connected to you, Chris, that you introduced me to the the Saturday and Tuesday groups, to this. I never thought that I would be sharing my story. And to hear people's responses is really there really aren't no words. So thank you to all of you.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And,
Chris is awesome.
Yeah.
He's just awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. But the word that has come up so many times tonight is courage. And I have always said that that moment when we surrender to the disease, that's when we're waving the white flag. What takes courage is to face life. What takes courage is to get sober and say, I'm gonna be okay. I am gonna live my life. I'm gonna walk through my life, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna be afraid. And that's something we all have to do at some point. We all have to, get that inner courage and say, I want to live. I don't want to die. And that's a decision that we've all made, to live rather than die. We've all done it. That's why we're here talking about it. And it's really amazing to hear all of you and to be in this place where we can share these experiences. And like I say, I'm so glad you decided to come on board. And it's just it's so great to know you. It's been really great getting to know you and I know so much more about you now. I mean, there's more. We haven't talked about a lot of this stuff. And I'm glad you're so open and willing. Willingness is the key to all of this. The willingness to share and say, yeah, we're all doing this together. I'm one of you. I'm part of this, and I want to be in it. And I'm so glad that you're here. It's just it's a miracle. You're another miracle. You really are. I can't wait to see the pug on the Instagram. That's too cool. Well, listen, I think we're going to get close to our gratitude round, our lightning gratitude round, and close it out for tonight. And it's been another just amazing evening of conversation. I'm so glad, Stephen, that you're here, and that everybody else is. And I think Frankie will be back next time too. Let's do have a little bit of gratitude. Who wants to go first? So maybe the same round robin. Amy, you go first. How about that?
Okay. I was just going to say also, my daughter has a pug, looks just like that pug. But I'm very grateful to my family, for my daughters, both of them, but my 6-year-old, man, she's just awesome. And I'm grateful to all of you, because I swear, if I hadn't joined this and our other meetings, which sometimes I don't make because I oversleep, but it just makes you feel so much better, because like John said, like-minded people, and it made a world of difference in my recovery. So thank y'all so much.
Thanks, Amy. John, you're up.
I am super grateful to be here today on the podcast, to be able to listen to Stephen's story. Stephen, thank you again for sharing it. Grateful for this group, to be able to partake in it. And I'm grateful for Midtown Health and Wellness, for you, Chris, everybody on the podcast, my wife, my family, and just another day alive and sober.
Thank you. Audrey, you are up.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for Stephen for sharing. You said you were nervous, but I think you did a great job at telling your story and being honest. And yeah, like Chris said, that's like the courage, we got to live our lives with courage now, not be in fear all the time. Which, it's hard, but I'm grateful that I can now not be afraid of, still get afraid of things, but like now I can like face fears without the crutch of a drug. So I'm grateful for all of you here. I'm grateful that I did not give up on Hinge. And that's about it. That the dating app Hinge. Amy's like, what? I deleted it now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I knew what you were talking about. Stephen, your turn.
Oh, wow. Grateful for so much. Friends, family, my students. Always this bundle of joy in my lap right here. And she's actually a registered therapy dog. So she's gotten me through some rough times. So super grateful for her. Grateful for my partner, Christian. And I mentioned in the very beginning of my story that I didn't think my story was worthy to be shared. So to hear everyone's reaction and hear that there were connections made, and if I can just lift you up or inspire you, or just anyone who's listening, but especially everyone here right now, I'm especially grateful for you. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for that reminder. I forgot that in the beginning you said you weren't sure your story was worth sharing. I think that you've been proven otherwise because you're going to help a lot of people with your story. There are a lot of people identify and will know that they belong to. So incredibly important that you're able to share in a really important story, and do not ever minimize your experience because it's incredibly valuable to others. And I'm really grateful that you're here to tell us tonight. And we'll learn more about you as weeks go by too. We're all going to be in this together, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all of you for being here once again. It's a miracle that we get to do this. It really is. I still don't understand it, honestly, but I'm not questioning it. We're doing it. It's working. And life is good, and I have an awful lot to be grateful for, and the faces I'm looking at now are, what I'm most grateful for right now. So thank you all. So I'm going to close it out. So thanks again, Stephen, and thanks all you guys for bringing your insights once again and your incredible honesty. I mean, wow, it's just amazing what happens here. And thank you to our listeners. And if any of you out there have any thoughts or feelings you'd like to share about anything you heard, please send us a note through one of the various available channels, YouTube, Spotify. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I don't know them all offhand, but we're out there. And we look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks on the next podcast, and have a great evening.